Good morning, Alex. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can, loud
What
and
is
clear.
what is the quality like? 'Cause it's all about quality with me, you know this.
I mean, I don't know if that is what it is, to be honest, but yeah, well, no, you're quite, yeah, it sounds fine.
Oh,
Sounds
perfect.
fine.
Well, in
Yeah.
that case, everyone, welcome to the first Friday fix of 2026.
Incredible.
Incredible. How is it already the 16th of January? That's slightly confusing. But anyway, moving swiftly on, as you should know by now, it's me, Ryan, and the awesome guys at Alpha Fix just chatting the shit, really. What's been going on during the week? Any major themes that are kind of cropping up that are perking our interest? A friendly reminder that this is not edited when it goes out to the podcast. So what you hear is what you get. Yeah, so expletive warnings, trigger warnings will apply. Nothing we say is trading or investment advice and all that bullshit. Yeah, guys, welcome back. It's so good to
Yeah.
have you back on. Obviously, it's not like we don't speak to each other anyway, but yeah, in front of everyone else, welcome back.
Likewise, likewise.
Good.
And this week I feel, I mean, we did get a pretty fast start to the year, I would say, in
Yeah.
terms of macro. Um, but this week has been, it's been great because earnings season has kicked off back again, plus a load of sort of macro themes and sort of broader chatter that's been going on. Obviously, Mr. Donald Trump's been back in the action this week, so yeah, this feels like the first week where it's properly feet
Yeah,
on
I
the
mean, like,
table.
but week one, like everyone's clearing their inbox, right?
Yes.
Or you do what I do, and if you email me in the first week back, I won't even look at it. And if it's that important, you will probably email me again. And I'll pick it up on the second reading. There we go. Just I'm glad you mentioned about how it feels like managed maybe at being able to catch our breath really, and in the macro space. Because one thing that kind of popped up today, and I kind of completely forgot it was an issue until this morning when I was doing some prep for the morning blast podcast I did with Metal Brown, is we're only 14 days away from potentially a partial government shutdown. And now I've not seen anyone mention this. And if you go back to any other occasion when there's any remote chance of this happening, people are getting all frothy knickers 4 weeks out. But I think it just shows you
Mm.
how busy things have been that, what is normally a big story is now a tiny story.
Mm. It's true. I thought I saw something last week that there was like a bipartisan bill that on spending that was looking like it was going to get pushed through. That was basically going to be another 3 month extension.
Well,
I think it's the last thing I
so
saw.
at the moment, the last thing I saw when I did, well, I hope I'm right, because it was this morning when I was researching it. Oh God. But so it's not going to be a full shutdown, it'll be a partial shutdown at worst.
Hmm.
So I think that's the difference. I think they've got through, I believe it's six out of however many bills it is, 12 bills or something, or whatever.
Hmm.
I have put an infographic out, so I should really know this by now. But I think the contentious ones are the DoD budget still not passed. I think there's a
Yes.
21 billion gap between the two houses on that one, and also the Homeland Security bill, which is obviously ICE, which was very contentious. So look, there's far more to
Hmm.
go, and expect people to to start perking up. One thing I just did want to flag, and this is one of the reasons why I want to flag it, the doors up, just make sure we get it out on this show, is obviously, as we know, one of the reasons we do this show is to cut through the bullshit that people might see and read and listen to online and whatnot. So just to get out ahead of it, a government shutdown at the best of times, or at its worst, does not equal government government default. Even less so when it's a partial shutdown, if at all. So just a heads up to everyone, this does not mean the government's defaulting on its debt or anything remotely close to that. That ain't happening.
Hmm. It's true. I mean, the US government debt is trending one way and in one direction only. Yeah. So I think that's the main story. That anything's going to draw from that. But no, valid point. And actually, if we're starting on debt issuance, why
Mhm.
not? Let's circumnavigate to Japan,
Oh yeah.
which is a real interesting story out this week of Takichi Takai
Well,
Taka. I always
well,
say the name
I
wrong.
well
Takachi.
I've given up trying to get it right, so I just say Takeshi, as in Takeshi's Castle, which is a
That's a
great
throwback, isn't
which is a
it?
great TV show. If anyone hasn't watched it, watch it on
I
YouTube.
think
It's
Jesse was too young for that.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I remember it.
Do you remember it?
Yeah, yeah.
4 a.m. We're 4 a.m. in someone's living room on a Tuesday morning, watching that. God, that takes me back. Anyway, moving
Yeah.
swiftly on.
Yeah, so Takeshi, well, we'll call it. We'll go on that. Yeah, a real interesting one where it looks like she's imminently going to obviously call a snap election as soon as the sort of middle of February, like actually being held on the middle of February.
Yeah, I
Um,
saw 15th of February, I think it is something. So yeah, something like that.
Yes, yeah, and it's, I mean, from my perspective, one is yes, she will call an election. Two is based on her approval. I mean, she gets an incredible, like 70%.
Yeah.
From the Kyoto agency I saw, 70% approval rating, which is incredible. And I have to say, even on the world stage, her ratings and her vibe that she's getting is very positive. So I do expect her to get a decent majority as a result of that with the LDP. But now the question is then really the knock-on impacts, because she's going to push, big on fiscal spending, big on, debt issuance.
Yeah.
And that really is sort of the end of the good news as far as markets are concerned. And I think it spells trouble for the yen, which has already skirted higher. And I think there's a lot of conversations to be had there beyond today. Also, JGB yields, which again have been ticking higher. And so, I think it's a really interesting one to watch, because almost inadvertently, the good news of her getting a majority and what she wants to do from there is likely a catalyst for intervention on the currency and a lot more pressure on rising long-dated JGB yields, which is a long-term problem.
Well, this is it. So, funny enough, I have just thankfully called up my little, I don't know if anyone saw, but we started putting these together, these little flash infographics on news that's happening and whatnot. And we did put one of these out on, funny enough, on the Snap election a couple of days ago. So I'm reading it myself. So just to confirm, I don't know if any of this has been confirmed yet. I've not seen it, so apologies if it had. But she's intending to dissolve the lower house on the 23rd of January. Which is the day Parliament is meant to reconvene. So I think that would be the day when we get the headline risk.
Yeah.
And the likely election dates are the 8th or the 15th of February. But you're exactly right. And I think, the one thing that, the reason why the yen weakened and the one reason why the Nikkei hit record after record after record highs is because, they're pricing in the stimulus mandate, right? Because she is very much pro-stimulus. At odds with potentially where the BOJ are. So I think it'll be an interesting one to see how that happens. And I'm interested to hear your point on this. Obviously, because, funny enough, it was yesterday was the anniversary of the SMB removing the peg. And obviously, and
happy anniversary.
It's happy anniversary to those who observe. And obviously, pour one out for a few brokerage accounts, etc. But I think, I realised the reason I say that, is because obviously we're talking about central bank intervention potentially with the yen. Yeah, as we know with the Bank of Japan, they obviously instruct the MOF. So if anyone hears that the MOF is intervening, basically that's really, really simplistic terms. Bank of Japan send the orders to the MOF, the MOF, Ministry of Finance, execute the orders. Basically, that's roughly what it is, right? Tell me if you think I'm wrong here, but that's pretty much how it works. So the interesting thing is, it's not so much, the belief at the moment with a lot of smarter people than me, and I'm looking at Alex and Jay here, they're much smarter than me on this. It's not so much about it's not about the actual level that the yen is at, but more the momentum it's carrying when it's reaching these levels. I think that's my take. My take is I'm more concerned about volatility than actual momentum, the actual price itself. The one thing I think is worth thinking about is obviously Bank of Japan, the MOF, are doing a lot of work to try and keep the yen sensible. Now, they are at odds with Takeshi, and Takeshi needs the yen to be stronger to shore up her position. So, again, I hate tinfoil hats, and bear with me with it. I realise I'm going on a long walk here, but there is potentially a small chance where the MOF and BOJ don't intervene when maybe they should do, because they want to teach Takeshi a lesson. Because it's okay, Takeshi coming out of all of these, we're going to stimulate, you're going to flood the economy with money and stuff, which obviously makes a weaker yen. But she's relying then on the Bank of Japan and the MOF to support the yen so that she can get away with doing this. Now, this sounds very convoluted, as we know, I'm fucking awful explaining what's going on in my fucking Ritalin-powered mind. But do you understand roughly where I'm getting at with this, or have I completely lost everyone?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that's a potential for sure.
I'm not saying it's likely. I just wanted to flag it.
Yeah. I think definitely one eventuality that I think will come up is that there could be something further along the line where Takeshi gets the concept that if she can prove that, yes, she's going to be fiscally loose, for want of a better term. But if she can prove that from an economic perspective that she can achieve a sort of leveraged rate of return for her fiscal spending
Good one.
onto economic growth, then that in itself could help to actually pull in long dated yields and even arguably give the yen a little bit of a bid. I'd probably argue that's her kind of what she could sort of turn to focus on.
So you said that would be that's her sweet spot. That's what she's hoping for.
I mean, I'd hope her sort of advisors will. That's what they're trying to point her towards. Yeah, because ultimately, if her, I mean, you could argue it's similar to the UK, but if you can't prove that fiscal spending is contributing to economic growth, that's really the sort of red flag for particularly like sovereign bond yields, and that's where you're going to get punished.
No, that's very true.
Yeah. I also think just on your point, Ryan, about them not intervening. I think what is interesting is Takeshi, as we're calling her, has a seemingly good relationship off the bat with Trump. And we know what Trump's views are of currency intervention. So she probably, I don't know if she would prefer to keep that relationship.
But does she have that? But does it's the BOJ, it's the MOF that makes the decision, right?
Yes.
It's all about central bank independence, my friend. Have you not been newspapers?
Which has been a big story.
I got to say, completely off topic there, Jay. This is like the clearest I've ever heard you on this podcast.
Okay, so it's because I have a new phone.
Sounds like he's in a cupboard.
I did purchase to Apple's revenues a new phone, which I think has fixed the microphone.
It'll be reflected in Q2 earnings.
Yes.
Along with your Meta sunglasses.
Yeah. That's the double counted that, I think. But no, so it's a good point, Jay. I hear what you're saying on that front. And whilst we're talking about sort of the politics intertwining with economics, I want to touch on a few sort of Trump headlines this week. Obviously, one out fresh this morning, struck out his deal with Taiwan. So they've reduced the import tariffs from 20% to 15%. Taiwanese chip businesses going to pump at least 250 billion into the US.
Right.
We also saw the one with Abby V. Abby V.
Yeah.
They basically did a deal earlier in the week, exempted from tariffs, and basically have cut their drug prices. And the last one, which I think arguably is the most interesting one, which I saw this morning, was Trump's basically pushing for some states to have electricity auctions to get big tech to effectively bid on it to take the sting out of rising utility prices for consumers. So 3 really interesting different stories of where he's going at the minute. I don't know if any of you saw those or had thoughts on it.
Yeah, so I want to wade in on the first point you made, which was part of this deal is Taiwan government promising 250 billion of investment in the US. So 2 things, a couple of points on this. One, we're seeing this increasingly often, especially when it's around trade talks and whatnot. We've seen it over the last 6 months or so, feels like forever, where a country will come out, or leader of a country will come out and say, we've got a great chat with Trump, and we're going to invest 500 million or 500 billion or 150 billion or these random numbers, right? They get a nice headline. Trump gets a good tweet out of it, and a bit of, he gets a massive dopamine hit that he's, secured X $100 billion. But we keep saying, we've said this last year a few times, and I know I've said it, I think, to you guys, like on a personal note as well, like I'm starting a personal on a private level as well. There's one thing saying this, and it's win-win for both parties. The country gets, the respect. Well, Trump gets a good headline, which means the country is looked on favorably by Trump, right? Problem is saying this and actually executing through and filling your order, 2 completely different things. And we flagged in the past, it's not just at this government level either, or national level, it's at the AI level. It's okay as an AI say, we've got this, 500 billion with so-and-so. When you look behind the curtain, it's subject over X number of years, loads of letters of intent all the way down. So everything needs to go perfectly for that full amount to be basically just spent and, to go through the books. And the reason I'm flagging it is because it was yesterday, almost exactly the same as what we've seen today with what you've said this week with Taiwan. South Korea, a little while ago, said they were going to do 350 billion in the US, right? They've come out this morning and said, actually, it's definitely not going to be H1. We're not sure when it's going to happen. But no one cares about that anymore because Trump's already had his headline and made himself look good. And again, and following on from that, we've got to be mindful when a political leader of a country says we are going to invest hundreds of billions into the US. It's not the government that's doing that. They're basically hoping that companies based in their country are going to do that, and then that's where they kind of like look try to sweeten the deal and stuff. But you're relying on companies within Taiwan to fill this border. But again, when it comes to it, we could be 6 months down the line. Everyone would have forgot about it already. And I think I would love. Yeah, it's going to be impossible to do. Right? Probably someone can if they're smarter than me, which isn't hard. But I would love to know how many of these deals are signaled, but then what percentage of receipts are actually booked.
It's very true. I think the point that always strikes me when some of these deals come through, which is the amber flag, let's say, instead of red, is when they use these vague numbers in terms of like at least 250 billion or, a in excess of 500 billion or whatever, because it's like if you're having to band around vaguities, it's kind of, I think that's when it's a problem.
And also, there's nothing beyond that headline. Like, okay, well, what time frame? Oh, we'll have to get back to you on that. Where exactly are you going to spend the money? Who's going to spend it? Oh, we'll get back to you on that. Like you said, it's just a headline print, in my opinion. I'm so skeptical of all these announcements.
Yeah, I agree. Jay, any thoughts?
No, I think you've made some good points, Ryan. Yeah.
I have been sober for a week, so this is why I might be on form today.
Dry January?
No, not by choice. I'm now stubborn, hoping to change that
within the next 10 minutes. The one I wanted to come across to Jay on, actually, because I know he's been writing on it a bit about AI. The one I spotted earlier was TSM. Yeah. They posted some really good results on Wednesday evening, I think it was, and their 2026 total sales are expected to grow by close to 30%. So not only have they smashed it out of the park, but also that forecasted growth is still very high for this year. Yeah. An interesting quote from the earning call from CC Wei. She said to one of the analysts, "You're trying to ask us whether AI demand is real or not. I'm also very nervous about it." End of quote. So I think it has done well. It's forecast to do well. And there's like a general bellwether for AI. That's great. But yeah, I mean, Jay, do you want to come in on sort of AI and thoughts from here?
Yeah, I haven't actually I haven't got around to the TSMC earnings.
But basically, Big Al is throwing you completely under the bus.
And I can throw you completely under the bus. No, because you're talking basically AI more generally.
Well, I've been in the works. We've been running through a portfolio update, which is probably due this afternoon if all goes well, and just reviewing some of our AI names. At the moment, we don't have. Oh, the only Asian exposure we have is Alibaba because of their cloud growth, which is a very interesting AI thing.
Is someone else's computer?
Sorry. And yeah. Yeah, sorry, I'm a little bit.
That's fine.
Not sure
That's
why.
Fine. We'll move swiftly on. We'll move swiftly on there.
He's turned up with a microphone at work. It's the first show of the year. Give him a break.
Give him a break. He's not got into the swing of things. The last story I wanted to touch on was with the big bank earnings this week, who obviously traditionally kick off earnings season, and they did the same. All very strong, all forecasting a great year for M&A and capital markets activity.
Didn't JP Morgan miss? Am I going crazy? Didn't someone miss at the very start? Maybe I'm completely wrong, but I thought someone missed at the very, very start, or there was something bad about someone.
Something bad. Okay. But yeah, so certainly capital markets activity was up, and they all think that it's going to be the 5 major banks reported a 15% increase in trading revenue for 2025, and that was the biggest year-on-year jump for 5 years.
So obviously, a record, wasn't it?
Yes, it was
like a huge beat. Well, not a huge beat, but like a huge record number for trading.
Yes, that was correct. The point I actually though found interesting was that David Solomon of Goldman basically.
David.
The big DJ, he said that he's met with the two, he wouldn't explicitly say them, but obviously Polymarket and Kalshi. He's met with them personally over the past couple of weeks because he finds the prediction markets very interesting, and that Goldman are actively looking at opportunities to get into that market, which does make sense because obviously a lot of these contracts are now coming under the scope of essentially financial trading.
Yeah, we're getting some regulatory burden creeping up
Exactly.
fast, right?
That's the phrase. Yes,
Yeah,
we're
there you
getting
go.
regulatory burden.
Right.
Someone's going to do the heavy lifting.
Yeah, you wait till I have a beer in a minute. It's all going to.
Yeah. And so I think it could be a really interesting one where, do you fast forward a couple of years, do you see like a Goldman's effectively have a desk that are making a market as technically Polymarket or whatever it is on some,
Yes,
I don't know, for want of a better word, non-financial asset
Yes.
outcomes?
absolutely. And I tell you why, because more so than that, but I know for a fact, and I've got to be careful what I say because for some reason I have been included on stuff that isn't public. I'm legally I've been included, but I just can't say it. It's not like I've been digging through bins and whatnot. Well, not yet. But CME are really going hard into event markets, event contracts, and teaming up with FanDuel and the like, and teaming up with FanDuel and the like, and they've got some very, very exciting things coming this year regarding the event trading. So definitely watch this space on that. And the reason for it is because they're seeing this huge rise in, Kalshi and Polymarket. And they're saying, well, hang on a second, lads. We've got the world's best matching engines. We're also regulated, so we can get, institutional money flowing through. And, I think it's going to be a very interesting next, say, 3 to 6 months about how this landscape changes. Because, I think there's going to be a lot of stuff going through, and I do think, exactly like you say, that we could be seeing some of these bigger desks providing liquidity and also making markets and taking markets in these things because, again, but the problem is, I think, kind of trying to front run and game it out where it goes wrong. The issue I think that they're going to find really, really soon is insider trading. Because, it's one thing to do it when it's regulated companies and all this, that, and the other, but having a market that is Ryan's going to get smashed tonight, yes or no? Now, if you're out with me, it's a yes, and like you know stuff inherently that you potentially don't. I don't know. I think it's going to be an interesting one how they cover this on a regulatory compliance level, but I think they will crack it because the amount of money that's flowing through.
But my question for you though is, let's say Goldman Sachs is that are they just making markets on like financially dependent outcomes, i.e., on central bank interest rate policy, do you think they're making markets on completely random stuff?
They're not doing that now. Let's be clear. But I believe the way this is going, that if the markets are liquid enough, and it could be, what will this start off? This not go too exotic to start with. This say, it could be bets to the tune of, who's going to be the next Fed chair. Right?
So stuff like that, I think is logical. I'm talking about, more not like crazy obscure, but who's going to win the Premier League next year?
Oh right, okay, yeah. So on the sports trading side, I do think that we will start seeing some of these bigger entities starting getting involved in that. Because let's be clear, and I speak from a lot of experience on this, and I'm very well placed on the sports side specifically. There are already quant funds trading soccer games and NFL games. Princeton said that if no one's heard of it, Google a fund called Star Lizard, owned by Tony Bloom, who owns Brighton football team. They are basically one of the most advanced quant trading hedge funds in the world, and all they do is sport. And it blows your mind. Like, we're talking billions and billions in turnover in soccer trades, etc. It is a brave new world out there, and it's easy to dismiss that it's just people punting around, on Saturday with their accumulators and whatnot and their parlays. But there's serious, when you look beyond that, there's some serious entities getting involved in sports trading and trading mainly on like the Asian handicap markets and such like. It's an interesting one to follow.
Okay, very interesting. Jesse's the Asian handicap markets, his speciality, isn't it, Joe?
It's interesting you mentioned Star Lizard. I actually heard that story about the guy that set that up. It's a really interesting story about how he basically cracked like the sport betting market and how he grew that and then eventually bought Brighton. It's really interesting.
He's a professional poker player as well.
Yeah.
I can't be. Remind me over a beer, and I can tell you far more about it. But it's definitely stuff I can't put out on here before I get lynched. But no, I definitely think. So to answer your question, Alex, yes, I definitely think we'll start seeing as these markets become more liquid and regulated, i.e., on the CME and stuff. Because CME are doing sports trading as well. Don't forget, there's contract specs already on the CME website for NFL and college football and stuff. So yeah, I do think this is the way it's going. Just more ways to trade, right? More ways to do your beans.
A trading boom out of the pandemic with options, and how all of Wall Street went very heavily after that to capitalize on growth. And this is now just the next leg of the retail move. Like, I'm sure the retail options is still there, but they're also finding this new interest in event trading, and Wall Street's just going to capitalize once again.
Yeah, I think like this differentiate between what we're talking about here and, you know, random bet on, you know, is Trump gonna fucking do something tomorrow, pick his nose on TV, or what color ties he wear. We're not talking about those markets. We're talking about, well, hopefully we're not talking about those markets, but we'll see.
Agreed. Well, that's all from me for this week. I think we covered the main stories out there.
Wonderful.
Unless anyone wants to go anything else.
I do have something, and maybe I can't put you both on the spot, but we do keep promising to do an in-person one again. We haven't done one of these in a while. So I was thinking in the next week or two, because I've had a few people say we haven't had a non-farm beer or anything in a while. So I was thinking rather than a non-farm pint, because it seems to be only us, well, me being a reprobate that doesn't want to actually be in the desperate non-farm payroll, but maybe we have sort out a Friday beer, put the words out, and see you want to join us in London at some point in the next week or two.
Definitely, yeah. I'm out of town next Friday, but the Friday after, last one of the month. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, this to do that then. You'd love a holiday, don't you? Anyway, guys, thank you so much as always. It's a pleasure to get back on the calls with you. Listeners, thank you so much as always. Can't say this enough, I know I always say it. If you don't already follow the guys on Outfix, what the fuck are you doing with your life? If you don't already subscribe to their Substack, what the fuck are you doing with your life? Get it done. The content's phenomenal. They give far too much out for free as well, so make the most of it before they wake up and smell the roses. But yeah, whatever you're doing this weekend and today, have a great one. Much love. Stay out